All right, what up, people? It's your boy Chig from Guna Eagle Eye, coming to you again with a brand new video. I am coming to you again with Eagle Eye Transfer Rumour Show, where I talk to you about the latest transfer news and reviews out there. Big up to everyone that is starting to come into the chat room. Obviously, this is more like early morning with Chig at the moment. Please do come into the chat room. As you do, please do stick a like on this video. Every like helps the show get noticed, and it saves me banging on about it because you guys know how important it is by now. Big up to Omar and Abemon. I hope you guys are well. Good morning. I hope you guys are well. Mr. Castillo, I hope you guys are well too. And stay with me as I start to talk about this story. I see you, PDS. I see you. Ben, good morning. I hope you're well. All right, let's talk about these stories. Amanuel, I hope you're well too. Obviously, this is the story I decided to lead with, and that is Issa Diop, the 23-year-old Frenchman from West Ham, who was signed in 2018 from Toulouse for £22.5 million. And he's done okay. He's done reasonably well, especially in an underperforming West Ham team. And there's been someone that Arsenal as a whole have been looking at for a while. I think everybody knows that our number one preferred target is Upamecano. But as I've always said from day one, I don't think we'll get Upamecano. I've said that pretty much very, very early. Because I felt like, at the time, I thought someone like Man City would go for him, but he's being linked with Barcelona now, and Real Madrid, I heard he was being linked with as well. It's just like, what chance do we have when those type of clubs are after him? So it's just sensible to have a backup choice. I think most Arsenal fans wouldn't mind going for someone like Nathan Ake, who's got Premier League experience, 25 years old. If he can get a good run of games, you would think he'd be a top-class defender. Some people think that we should go for Umtiti from Barcelona. Ravaged with injury, but the quality is there when he isn't injured. But then again, on the flip side of that, you might say, yeah, but we've had enough of those players over the years. And I think that is the case. I would tend to agree with that. And I think there are other options out there, whether it's, you look towards Brighton, you look towards Connor Cody, I think there are a lot of decent defender options out there. Gabriel from Lyon. I think there are a lot of decent options out there. But it's about, really investing in the future, because let's face it, in the long term, I don't think this will happen immediately, but in the long term, you're looking for a defensive partner to play alongside Saliba. In an ideal world, they want that to be Upamecano. Completely understand. Both are more or less the same age, give or take 6 months. I think both have slightly different playing styles that would complement each other. Saliba has a very calm Rio Ferdinand way of playing, whereas Saliba is more of a kind of aggressive, let's get the ball away. Can hit a nice pass himself, to be fair, type of player. I think Saliba is probably a stage lower in terms of his development than the guys I'm talking about. And I think people really need to grasp that idea that you're not going to see a finished product, but you're going to see someone with a lot of potential. And I think you're going to see someone who is going to impress at times, is going to disappoint at times. And I think Arsenal fans, we are real good at gassing. And I think, when Saliba does come on board and the season does get going, Lord knows when that will be, then I think Arsenal fans just need to be realistic with their expectations. But I suppose the long-term plan would be to put someone next to him that will have experience. I'm not necessarily against the idea of Jonathan Tah, for example. I think Jonathan Tah is a different type of player, but another type that I think would complement Saliba quite well. Both are quite tall. Saliba is 6'4", Jonathan Tah is 6'5", as is Issa Diop is 6'5". I talk about all these defenders because it's interesting to see who Arsenal will actually go with. The feeling why we've edged ahead of Man United is very simple. The bookies have made us a little bit favourite purely on the basis that apparently Diop would prefer to stay in London. So that opens up potentially Chelsea, because Chelsea are looking for a central defender as well. But he's not currently being linked with Chelsea. And us, everybody and their wives know we need a defender. So my girlfriend knows nothing about football. And she says, also, I'm going to buy a defender, right? So literally, everybody knows we need a defender. So I think it's just a case of who we select. I like Diop a lot. I think he's he's a good talent. I don't think he's the finished article, which is a little worrying at 23. At 23, I should be seeing damn near the finished article. I think that's my worry for people like I like Chambers. I'm not going to put Chambers in this bracket, but I think that's my worry for someone like Holding. I'm sat there thinking, all right, when are we going to see it? And he's 24 now. So you think to yourself, are we ever going to see it? I think, personally, I've always said the same thing. I think that Chambers is the better defender. I've always said that. I've always maintained that, even in laughter. And even in Chambers, there is a question mark as to whether you keep him. I think with Diop, what would I say? I think he's better than Holding. Whether I think he's as good as Chambers or not is a question mark, which I know some of you who don't rate Chambers as highly as I do would be quite worried to hear that. But what I like about his attributes is 6'5", big brick shithouse. And actually, most importantly, he has Premier League experience, which would help someone like a William Saliba who hasn't. And I think that perhaps intrigues me more in a way than the Upamecano deal, because the Upamecano deal, I'm expecting him to transition into the Premier League pretty quickly. He's a big physical brute. I do think he has some flaws in his game, but it's definitely not the physicality side of things. I expect Upamecano, if he was to come into the Premier League, to pick it up quite easily in terms of physicality. Pace would be interesting to see how he adapts, but in terms of physicality, I expect him to get that. For me, with Upamecano, sometimes it's just concentration. And that's why I feel like his defensive partner, Canute, who I know you guys are sick of me banging on about, is better in that regard. He's more switched on in that regard. That would be my ideal pick for Saliba, personally. But I don't think that's going to happen because we just ain't been linked with them. But then again, it's Arsenal. Maybe because we ain't been linked with them, we might actually get him. But I can't see. I mean, RB Leipzig would be dumb as hell to let go of both of them in the same window. So I'd be very shocked by that. But anyway, I digress. In terms of Diop, I think I like him as a player. I think the interesting thing about him is that David Moyes has a little bit of doubts about him, and that's why David Moyes might be tempted to cash in. You know, West Ham ain't got abundance of cash. You know, they've been spending like a madman for a good 4 or 5 years, and they're probably looking to cash in on some of their assets. It's a lot of the reason why that overrated geezer in the central midfield, I've forgotten his name. Seems like a knife enough guy. That English guy, defensive midfielder. Chat room, help me out here. What's his name again? It's early in the morning. I completely forgot. What is his name? The guy I don't rate. Rice. Declan Rice. That's the one. Thank you, Ben. Declan Rice is, they're considering selling him for like 80 million. 18 million. I wouldn't spend 40 million on Declan Rice. But, you know, they're looking to try and generate some cash. They also feel like they can do that with potentially Diop. In my view, 60 million, way too much. Would not spend 60 million on him. And I like the player, but not for 60 million. I saw somebody in my community post put that they potentially look to spend 40 million. Whew, even 40 million, I'd be sweating. If it was 35 million, 23 years old, 6'5", isn't a finished article, but it's getting there. Give him 2 years under Arteta as a bit of a project. Because I will say this, whilst I still have my doubts, a lot of doubts about Arteta, one thing I give him is he's very good at, focusing on a player and their attributes and the things that they could bring. Bar Ainsley Maitland-Niles, you won't necessarily see a player being unhappy with Arteta, at least as of the time I record this. So, you see, I can be honest, even if I have my reservations about Arteta, I can be honest. He's very good at that kind of coaching, like on a one-on-one basis. So I think someone like a Diop might be an interesting project for Arteta. And I think Diop, being French, being not too much older than Saliba, might be the perfect person to help him settle in. And you start to build a team. You buy a right back to replace Hector Bellerin, because let's just be real. And you're starting to all of a sudden build a decent defense. I'd personally still put Tierney at left back and move Saka left. I'm going to come to the Saka situation in a second. But yeah, I think Diop, for the right price, would be an interesting buy. I think the other thing that people need to remember is that whenever I put stories on my community posts, the one thing people say is if it's not a defender, they ain't interested. They'll say, oh, I don't want us to spend that much. We should be spending that much in defense. So when a defender comes along and a high price is being quoted, you can't then say, oh, well, that's too expensive, because that's what you guys wanted. You wanted that investment. And there's nothing to say that any player is going to be the right player. There is nothing to say that Upamecano is going to be the perfect guy for Saliba. I personally, I've said this before, I say this again. If it was up to me, my number one choice would be Canute. My number two choice would be Tah. My number three choice would be Upamecano. All of them, I think, would do a fantastic job. The Diop one, maybe it could be number 5. I feel like at least he's got Premier League experience, albeit 2 years, but he's got Premier League experience. He's someone who's French, not too, kind of in a similar sort of age group to Saliba. Why not? But for the right price. For me, 60 million. Oh. Bear in mind, we need to buy at least a central midfielder and a right back. 60 million is too much for the kid. And I like the kid. I think he's got good attributes. But I think West Ham would be laughing their head off if they managed to convince Arsenal to part away with £60 million. Who's to say we even have £60 million to spend as a budget? Because who knows what happens this season. But what do you guys think? Leave it in the chat. Leave it in the comments below. Let me talk about Bukayo Saka. Obviously, the one thing I would say for this season is that during the break, it gives you an opportunity to be able to sort contracts out. That's why I have limited sympathy for someone like Aubameyang, because, if you really wanted to stay, this is the time you sort it out. This is the time you sort it out. So that's what lets me know he's off. Bukayo Saka at least is still talking to the club. And the major dispute is not money, apparently. The major dispute, unsurprisingly, according to the Express, which I read today, is actually position. He's obviously very worried that long-term Arteta sees him as a left-back. And he's like, no, whoa, listen, I did a job for you there. Don't make me that guy. And he would obviously rather go and play for a club that will give him the opportunity to play in his correct position if Arsenal can't offer him that. The belief is that all parties are still confident that they'll get this job, they'll get this contract signed. But even I must admit, now I'm worried, because when this initially came up, I have a friend who's a big fan of Bukayo Saka in one of our in one of my many groups on WhatsApp. And when this first came up, I was like, easy work, be a few weeks flirting, joshing, posing, we'll get that tied up. That was 3-4 months ago. So now, even now, I must admit, I'm a little bit concerned that, maybe, just maybe, we lose out to this kid, lose out to someone like Liverpool, who, no offense to Liverpool, you never walk alone, who I know is in the chat room. It's just like, bruh, come on. As if they don't have enough quality. Let's hold on to the little quality we do have. The kid is so good. So good. I personally hope he goes on to represent Nigeria, but if he goes on to represent England, cool, no problem. I think he is such a talent. For some reason, in FIFA 20, he's American, which makes no sense. It makes no sense. I was looking at it the other day like, huh? Why doesn't it say Nigeria? But he's apparently British American on FIFA 20, which makes, I was just like, okay. But yeah, I would love to see Saka stay. Am I confident? Quietly, but I must admit it's taken a hit. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. What else was I going to talk about? I don't think there's anything else that I need to talk about. I'm just kind of trying to quick scan. Guys, I hope you guys are well. I see some more of you have come into the chat since I started the show, which is great. Please do stick a like on this video if you haven't already. That always helps the show get noticed. Let me just quickly go over. Somebody wanted me to comment about this Gnabry story. There's no story here. Listen, to me, of course the kid loves the club. He grew up at the club. So it's not a huge surprise to me that he's wearing an Arsenal kit. In an ideal world, we would go and get him. We ain't that type of club, though. We don't have that type of funds. And even if we did, we ain't that type of club to just say, all right, Bayern Munich, here's 90 million or whatever it is that he's worth, and we'll have Gnabry back, please. If we were really on point and we sold him, we'd have put some sort of buyback clause in the contract in the first place. That hasn't happened. So it is what it is. I wish him all the best, man. I like the kid. I think clearly he still loves the club. Or at the very least, the club is dear to his heart. For him to be wearing an Arsenal shirt, I don't think that was a PR stunt or whatever. I just think he just threw something on. And that was that. But yeah, it is what it is. I don't all of a sudden think Mesut Ozil is going to be Agent Ozil or whatever nonsense people want me to comment on. It is what it is. Good luck to the kid. I still like him. Still rate him as a player. So we are where we are. Let's talk about Jonathan David. So I did comment on this 2 days ago. And I did say that he was a big Barcelona stroke Ronaldinho fan. But obviously he's still young. He's 20 years old. I think he clearly recognizes that he can't just step from Genk to Barcelona at 20 years old, no less. So one of the things he's come out and said over the last couple of days is, or there's a belief, a strong belief, that he quite fancies a move to the Premier League, which knock opens the door up to Arsenal, who were linked with him in the first place. He's had a very prolific season. For those who don't remember, I think it's something along the lines of 21 goals. I think it's either 10 assists or 16 assists. He's been involved in a hell of a lot of goals. And I know people are going to be like, yeah, but that's at a certain level. And you're right, it is at a certain level. But I think goal scoring is goal scoring. And if you have the confidence to find the ball at the back of the net, maybe you have the ability to transfer those skills over. My belief is that Aubameyang and Lacazette will go. So we need to fill those spots. I think the way you do that is by bringing in an attacking left winger and you bring in a target man. And I think potentially this guy could be it. He can apparently play anywhere across that front line, which does make that an attractive proposition. But yeah, I think a lot of people, and I've just seen Chris say it in the chat room, quite prefer actually the Celtic guy. I must admit, I'm in that camp. And I like Jonathan David, actually. I think clearly he's a good player. He's got decent ability. But actually, I like the rawness of the Celtic guy. He seems more raggo. And I think, to me, if you're going to step up into the Premier League, which is, let's face it, it's less pretty than some of the European teams, you know. We're not so much focused on skill and things like that. It's more about grit and, you know, dealing with physicality. Hey, the Scottish League, at the very least, the quality might not be there, but they are physical. So it's always a good little, I think, track. I don't necessarily dismiss amazing talents from Scotland. You know, when we were linked with Tierney, you never saw me dismiss it. Because I figured, well, if he's supposedly this hard man in Scotland, let's go and get him. Let's go and get him. Virgil van Dijk. I think people forget. Before he was at Southampton, my man was in Scotland, killing it. And it was purely, I don't know if Wenger just had this snobbish attitude towards Scotland. We were linked with him season after season for a good 2-3 years. And then Wenger looked at him and thought, nah, and then went to go and get Mustafi for 3 times the price. More than 3 times the price. So I would like us to avoid those sort of silly mistakes. I think I think his name is Usman. I've forgotten the name of him. I've forgotten his surname. Usman. I've forgotten his name. Forgotten his second name. But the Celtic striker, anyway. He's good, 22 years old. Another one that just bangs goals. Bangs goals in. So, yeah, I think from my perspective, I'd go and get him. But I still like Jonathan David a lot. It is what it is. But anyway, guys, please do stick a like on this video. I hope you've enjoyed the 3 topics that I've touched on. Diop for 60 million, not for 60, for 35, at a stretch 40 max, but nowhere near 60 for me. What do you guys think? The Saka situation, are you worried? Let me know. And then obviously, finally, I talked about Jonathan David. Let me come into the chat and see what you guys are saying. Okay. I'd get rid of both Holding and Chambers in the summer. I'd definitely get rid of Holding. Chambers, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. Peace had the potential last season, but his injuries have blighted his potential. Arsenal should pick off defenders from whoever gets relegated. I don't necessarily mind that idea, and obviously that brings into question someone like a Max Aarons. But also, I think people also need to keep in mind, just because these clubs get relegated, don't mean they're desperate to sell off their stars. They may want to lower their wages, but they also get parachute payments. I think people need to remember that. So it's not like they'll be desperate to get rid of them. But I think someone like a Max Aarons will want to leave the club. And we need to make a play for him. That would be my kind of thought process on that. I hope you get better, man. I hope you get better. I hope you get better and people support. My guy, South London's finest B. If we're going for youth and building a young defense, Kamara from Marseille is what scouts should be all over. Very similar attributes to Diop. Interesting. And Marseille, you would think he'd be a lot cheaper. Yeah, interesting. I'm trying to remember Marseille's team, but it's too early for me to Start searching in my archives of the brain. Diop for 60 million. LOL, pants pulled down. That's from Liverpool. You never walk alone. He finds that hilarious. We need 2 central midfielders, not 1. Well, it also depends on who you get rid of as well. Do you get rid of a central midfielder? Keep in mind that you still got what's his name, Emil Smith Rowe, that will come back. So yeah, Omar, I'm glad to hear your aunt is feeling better after potentially having corona symptoms. I hope she continues to feel better. Nah, man. Liverpool, you never walk alone is one of our regulars, man. Listen, I get it. It's an Arsenal channel, but you got to have the occasional opinion from opposite fans. He's one of the regulars around here. Silly guy. He's cool, but he'll banter the crap out of you, and rightly so. Listen, Liverpool are running away with it, and they should be awarded the league when it comes down to it. So you guys had an argument. Gnabry won't return to the club. Nah, no chance. No chance. Tah's quality. I agree, bro. I agree. I think Tah is slept on as well. I think he's very slept on. I think he's destined to at some point come to the Premier League. I think a team will take a chance on him. I think he will come and make an impact. Edouard, that's the one. Usman Edouard. Udson Edouard. You're right. It's Udson Edouard. Chick. It's Chig, no, my guy. And yeah, I was banging it out. Towards the end, though, I wasn't like one of these 2007 types like Piers Morgan or whatever. But the Czech only when the season he only bought Czech was the season that I finally converted into Wenger out. Elliot from Toronto, great show, mate. Best bang for the buck still lies with Jonathan Tah. Thoughts? Elliot, my brother, I literally just been saying that. I like Jonathan Tah. To me, I still think Canute is just ahead. But then I think Jonathan Tah is the second. I think he's 24 years old. He's got loads of experience. My only worry with Tah is I think he's playing close to what his level. I don't think he gets much better than that. But he's still a very good defender. He's got so much presence about him. He's not amazingly quick, but he's got so much presence to him. And I think he would complement someone like a Saliba really well. Georgie, I swear to God, right? You need to subscribe to my MMA channel. Because every time you come into this channel and you ask me nothing but MMA questions, I'm like, bro, I just did a show yesterday. Like, I literally did a show yesterday. So go check that out. Literally, it's the combat show, the Chicken Honor combat show. The link is in the description below. Go subscribe to it. In fact, go and press the notification bell to that so you don't miss it. And that way you ain't asking MMA questions all the time. Literally just did a show. Yeah, I've got an MMA channel as well, Totals Hit. I've got an MMA channel as well. Georgie is just renowned for asking me questions about MMA on here. Yeah, I don't mind. Of course, I get it. Listen, I get it. I get it. Would you sell Auba and Laca? I would only sell Uber if he didn't want to stay. If he didn't want to stay, then yes, I would. I think you can get 100 mil for the pair. Go and reinvest that. Go and reinvest that. Because all those people say, yeah, but who would you replace him with? All right, cool. Even if you kept him for the year, you still got the same problem next year. I'd rather try and solve that this year. Solve that this year. Get some money, because and this is the thing that drives me nuts about when people say, no, I'd take him into the last year of his contract. You'll be the same people that would then come. And listen, I don't like Stan Kroenke at all. But you'd be the same people that would then come next year when we don't have money because we ain't made it to a Champions League or anything, right? Because Uber's been kept against his will, unhappy. He's clearly not banging in goals the way he used to, right? Because we've seen this play out time and time again, right? So you've been kept against his will. He's not performed. We're not in the Champions League. Probably not even Europa. Now we don't have money to go and get players, and then you're going to be complaining. No. Why don't you just go and get the 50 to 60 mil that he'll be worth and go and reinvest that? As for Lacazette, he didn't want to come to Arsenal in the first place. He wanted to go to Atletico Madrid. He was all set to go there, and then they got the transfer ban. This is well known. So if he still wants to go there, I say let him go there. Let him crack on. You can get Edouard for 20 to 25 mil. Yeah, agreed, Ben. You can get Edouard for 20 to 25 mil. Maybe you get Everton Suarez, maybe, because we were linked with him last year, for 40 mil. So even if you get 100 mil for Laca and Uber, you still got money to spend elsewhere after that. Apple won't stay. I'm thinking of getting my PS4 back this weekend. I need to play some FIFA to kill time. San Arsenal, do you think the Premier League players will take a 30% pay cut? So that is my my podcast subject on Sunday. I haven't asked him yet, but my intention is to ask Ola back onto the show because you're going to seem to love him on there. And I want to ask Luiz, Mr. White, to come back and be on the show. So those are going to be my two guests. I'll bring them on the show, and I'm going to debate that with them. So I don't want to spoil it just yet. So make sure, if you haven't already, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You won't miss that show. If you know me, I'm trying to do a podcast literally every Sunday with different people, because I notice people are really keen to see different faces on here. So that's why I'm trying to bring as many different people on as possible. Bertrand, I still got a game of FIFA for you. Don't worry. I'll still come and slap you up on FIFA. It's fine. Thoughts on Mark Rocker? You know what? Thank you, Elliot. I completely forgot about that story. Mark Rocker, I put on my community posts on Friday. Was it Friday or Thursday? One of the two. He's the Espanyol central midfielder. Very much in a Granit Xhaka mold, but better. And can pass with both feet. And can short pass. I like him. I think he looks good. I prefer him to Solia. I know Solia is another player that we've been linked with. I prefer this guy. Good presence in that central midfield. Loves a diagonal ball, though. Does worry me a little bit that he seems over reliant on that left peg and loves a diagonal ball. But one thing I will say for him, he also can pass with his right foot. He's very capable of short passing as well. Seems to read the game better than Granit Xhaka. But to me, when I looked at him, I thought, well, this is a Granit Xhaka replacement. So it'll be interesting to see if Xhaka stays. I'm not putting it out of the realm of possibility he might go this summer. Bless him, because I still think he feels a way about the way Arsenal fans treated him from his perspective against Crystal Palace. And I think maybe Arteta would have said something like, listen, I know you're about to leave. Why don't you chill for 6 months? See how it plays out. If you still want to go in the summer, I will let you go. I think he's had that type of conversation with Granit. And it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up going. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see if this is more of a replacement for Granit Xhaka rather than a Dani Ceballos. But, yeah, I liked him. I think he's a good player. Supposedly he has a £40 million release clause. But as I said in my post, because Espanyol are looking at relegation, again, depending on what happens this season, there's a belief that he might go cheaper. So we'll see what happens. What do you guys think about him? Let me know. All right, I ain't going to too much longer because it's 9:30 now. And I'm going to go back into bed with my girl. So, so Thomas Partey would Atletico swap Lacazette for Thomas Partey? Well, that's the question. That's the question, Elliot. That's the question. Yes, please. Thank you, son. Thank you. What do you work with, chick? How do you mean? How do you mean? Why don't you start career mode and stream it for us? Like, stream it for us, lads. I might do, Bertrand. I might do. I'm just, to be honest with you, I'm trying to gauge the interest through Lee's numbers. Because as silly as this sounds, Lee's numbers will give me an indication of what I will get. So that's why I've not rushed into it yet. Plus, I still need to be of a certain standard first before I do something like that. But I can. I've got all the things to do it. I've got a mic. I've obviously got the PS4. I've got the game. So I'm good to go. I mean, do you have a part-time job outside of YouTube? Bro, I have a full-time job outside of YouTube. YouTube is the part-time job. Yeah, I work in HR, my man. I work in HR. I thought that's what you meant, but I just wanted to double check. That's why I asked you. Gosh damn, guys. Easy. Stop arguing amongst yourselves. Easy. Easy. Issa Diop, not against the name, but we were constantly being linked with the future and potential. You don't know that can be fulfilled. 60 million sounds oblivious. I think I know what you mean by that. As I said to someone today, this is the market we're shopping in. You know, this is why I don't believe in the Upamecano link, because to me, I think you need to find people that, you know, defenders that other people ain't really talking about. That's the market to me that Arsenal are shopping in. So whenever you see, people always say to me, oh, I've never heard of him. I've never heard of him. Whenever I put a story up, bro, get used to that. Get used to that. I think we're going to have a summer window of that. Chick, who am I picking for the Grand National? I ain't even going to lie. Is that even going ahead? I'll be shocked if it is. I'll be shocked if it is. Big up, Sam. I hope you're well. Yeah, 60 million. Apparently. Yeah, I agree. See, yeah. And that's the other thing. Can we afford 60 million? Even if you thought it was worth 60, can we afford it? That's the real question. Lee signed Messi in career mode because he's getting slapped up left, right, and centre. I must admit, I've not watched Lee's FIFA recently. I've only watched a couple of his transfer stories. I ain't watched his FIFA though. We are winning anything to attract these players, so people got to chill. Would you take John Stones? No, I would not, silly guy. No, I would not. What happens if Diop has an amazing season? Is he going to cost around 70 million? Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. I think, to be honest, whilst I'll be a bit, spent 60 million on this guy, ultimately he might prove to be worth the investment. I do remember, and I will hold my hands up, at Liverpool, you never walk alone will find this funny, right? When Liverpool first paid, I think it was like 27 million for Mane. This is when, by the way, prices were somewhat reasonable. Even I was thinking, I like him, but 27 million. And look at what Mane's kicked on to do. Now, I get that he's in a different position. But I think sometimes it's just about identifying what a certain player can bring to the team. Forget form, forget how they play for their current club. You obviously like him for a certain reason. What can he bring to the team? And I think most of us, I would say 70% of Arsenal fans in the chat room, at least like the player. Like, I bet even if you ask Sam, do you like the player? Forget the price. Do you like the player? I bet 70% of us would say, yeah, I like the player. Not for 60 million, but I like the player. Will guarantee be the result. So if you like the player, forget other circumstances around it. You then got to say to yourself, all right, I like the player, so let me just forget about the price for a second. What can he bring to the team? And that's why I was talking about the fact that he's French. He's someone of a similar age to Saliba. He's someone that has a Premier League experience. He's 6'5", I think the potential is there. So it's just about saying to yourself, all right, well, even if I'm paying over the odds, hopefully I'll get this back in Champions League qualification in X, Y, Z. And I'll keep going like that. I like Diop. He's way better than all of our centre backs. Agreed. Mane is the best player in the league. Not at the time you bought him, though. That's why I use Mane as an example. It wasn't at the time you bought him, and I liked Mane then. But even I was like, flipping heck, 27 million. Who is your Xhaka replacement? Rocker. Why not? Why not get Rocker? Yes. For 5 million, for me, I feel like that's a no-brainer. Go get him. Go get him for 5 million. I feel like that deal will get done. Because we're the only people linked to him, which I know some people might think, well, that's a bad thing. But I think for 5 million, why not go get him? Who knows? It might turn out to be a genius signing. I was like you, Gunnar. I never used to rate Mane. I always liked Mane. Always did. For Southampton, I thought he was such a good player. Play Luiz at CDM. No thanks. Sell Luiz. Full stop. I didn't want to address it, but as you brought it up, all right, I'll give my thoughts. I think it's absolute bullshit. I mean, even as crazy as the Arsenal board could be, they're not that crazy. Short of anyone saying 250 million, it's about telling them to suck their dick. And before someone says it, no, I don't necessarily think it's worth 250 million. What I'm trying to say is you don't sell an asset like that just because someone flashes 100 mil in your face. Tell them no. Tell them no. You need to break a record if you want Martinelli. Go break a record. For me, Mbappe. Easy chick. No way they'll sell him now. Yeah, I agree, but it is a story that has flashed up a few times. I get the question. Fuck off for Marseille, Saka, and Trinity. Agreed. I would stop watching the club if he was sold. My choice for back four next season, all being fair and well, Max Aarons, Saliba, provided he's ready. Realistically, Upamecano. I say realistically, I still think he'll go to another club, but whilst he's not ruled Arsenal out, Upamecano, Tierney. That'd be my back four next season. Thoughts on Werner to Liverpool? He's your missing piece, isn't he? You know, I rate Firmino highly. I think he does a lot of good work. But let's be real here. If you could get a Werner, it's a wrap for everyone, isn't it? It's a wrap for everyone. I think Martinelli will stay for now, but we'll leave in 3 years. Yeah, me too. And it's about making sure we extract the absolute most out of him in not only goals and winning games, but in value when we do sell him. So yeah, I agree. Oh, R.I.P. Well said, Georgie. Well said. I think I just answered your question. Realistically, Luiz is going to start a majority of games next season. Yeah, I think instead of Saliba as well. I think you're right. Arteta loves him a bit of Luiz. Loves him. For me, no. I wouldn't have got him in the first place. I don't rate him. Martinelli and Saka leave within the next 2 to 3 years. After the club lies to them about winning trophies. Firmino is overrated. Nah, not for me. But Warner is a left winger, left forward. Yeah, we got no chance of Timo Werner. No chance. All right, guys. I think I've covered everything. I hope you guys are well. I hope I've done a show worthy of the show I missed yesterday. Like I say, look out for tomorrow. I'll be doing a podcast, hopefully with Ola and Luiz, all things being well. Those are two other people I owe FIFA games to. So it just goes to show you, it's not like I'm just avoiding you, Bertrand. There are two other people I still haven't played, and they're friends of mine. So yes, I will get round to playing everyone eventually. Take care, guys. Please do stick a like on this video before you press that X. It helps. Also, press that notification bell because YouTube likes stunting on a brother. So if you guys can do that, that would be helpful. I'm out of here. Enjoy your weekend. Please stay safe. This corona thing ain't a joke, bro. It ain't a joke. So please stay safe. And I'll catch you tomorrow. All things being well. God willing. Take care. Peace.